Oh, it feels good to be back. I'm kind of like a Twinkie, or I don't know, DSP, because I could come back after surviving a hypothetical nuclear explosion and just carry on like nothing had changed. So yeah, lately there's been this rise of retro-themed FPS games making it to Steam shelves. Games that are recent but homages to old-timey shooters. The type of games that want to be the likes of Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem. And judging by the overall user reviews for these few titles, the niche is definitely picking up what they're putting down. That, and let's face it, blocky polygonal violence gets my balls tingling in ways nothing else can. So, I've compiled a list of current and upcoming games. This is most certainly not all of them, there's so many more that I'm finding out about almost daily. So here's just a list of a few that Pop has been indulging in. The thing is, these aren't cheaply made games either, they clearly have love put into the craft. Some of these games are made using their own new engines but skinned to look retro, whereas others are lovingly created with the original engines that its influence is built from, such as idTech or the Build engine. Apologies in advance, I'll be likening so many of the titles in this list to either Doom, Wolfenstein or Quake. That's because all the games in this list take inspiration from these games. Now understand that while these games do try to be like the older titles I just mentioned, they don't feel like they're straight ripping off their source material. These games are unique in their own rights, and while I do love the originals such as Duke 3D, Wolfenstein, Quake, Blood and Doom, they're all Hall of Famers when it comes to retro-inspired shooters. Hell, even Doom 2016 and Eternal are fantastic modernizations of Doom's classic vibe. The titles in this video are most certainly worthy of more than the title of Doom Clone. So I wanted to give these games a go and let you know my thoughts on them. So you should try them and let me know. You might find a new favourite game. It might just make 2020 seem just that little bit better. I've been really fucking busy and I've had so many problems with software crapping out, and Audacity as well just refuses to acknowledge my Logitech headset. So I bought a decent umpire microphone and it appears that I'm getting things back on track in before I jinx myself. So yeah, I've been busy, sorry for staggered uploads. That, and I want to make videos that are actually good rather than just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. That and Bannerlord released, so I've been trying that out. I've also had to buy a new GPU. I'll get a video out on Bannerlord now that enough time has passed to get some of its major bugs out of the way. That, and truth be told, added to all the technical bugger ups, I haven't really felt the motivation to get off my arse and record for some time given the state of the nation and that. Man, it's been months since I've been for a haircut. Any longer and I'm going to start to look like Tom Hanks from Castaway. So yeah, I had tried to get this video out like months ago, but of course I fucked up the audio in a segment of the video, didn't save it as I was working, and to add to my annoyance my Adobe license ran out, so I had to wait till payday to get it sorted. So I'm re-recording all of this as I transferred my files to an SSD and it wiped my recordings and my mic wasn't working, so this is going to be a long edit video. Probably longer than YouTube wants creators to output. Like, you best stick to that 12-minute mark, boy, or I'm gonna fucking shoot you. So at the time of me originally writing this script, the prices were all correct in pounds, but like I say, the script's been brewing for a few months, so the conversion rates may have changed slightly. Or massively, seeing as the funtime disease has plundered the pound coin. But number one on this list, Project Warlock. Project Warlock was released in 2018 by a Polish-German collaboration studio known as HROT Software and published by the aptly named Gaming Company Limited. Now, when I first loaded this game up and I saw made with Unity, I had a sinking feeling, as many games made with Unity end up being horrible asset flip gargantuan piles of steaming shit, so I was pleasantly surprised to see an original seeming game. Wait, Unity engine, you mean I can have a nice looking game that plays at a decently stable frame rate and is actually an original game and not just store-bought assets? Well, colour me impressed, laddie. Like, I have to say the most notable thing about this game is that it was created by an 18-year-old named Jacob Sislow. Shit boy, you're younger than me and you've already done more with your life. It's beginning to dawn on me I might just be a fuck up. But he developed this game while still in high school. Like, nah, I'd be way too stressed out beyond belief if I tried to do something like that, so props to you, kid. I mean, hell, I get stressed out enough trying to just make a YouTube video on the fucking video game, never mind trying to actually make a video game. But yeah, Project Warlock clearly borrows a lot of its inspiration from Wolfenstein and Doom, setting the player against hordes of monsters. I mean, you can find a badass double-barrel shotgun and traverse the maze-like corridors interacting with walls to reveal secrets and shit like that. I should point out though, while you can find a badass double-barrel shotgun, the one they give you to start with sucks. But more on that in a jiffy. But the game runs beautifully fast and feels super arcadey. It takes its level design from Wolfenstein, but its gameplay design from Doom, allowing you to strafe around projectiles. The levels start out small and tight, but expand as you progress, picking up more guns and your hordes of enemies increase with each and every episode. Yes, not levels, episodes, in true Wolfenstein and Doom fashion. The shareware model of releasing games was truly ace. So I've been listening to Masters of Doom, which is an audiobook on Audible read by Will Wheaton, and it's about John Romero and how he and John Carmack made Doom. Not sponsored or anything, I'm just saying it's a good book. Yeah, that wasn't sponsored, but Audible, please, wink wink. Or, you know, any company that wants to actually fucking sponsor me, please. I need the money. I will shamelessly shill for your product. So this game does follow id Tech's level structure, but obviously using a fresh engine, more complex designs can be thought out, especially for sprites of certain objects in the map. It even has a little sprite of your character in the bottom left who looks left, right and puts on an angry face from time to time, just like the classics do. So the graphic style is more for style than as a result of a hard limitation, allowing for more creative freedom when planning out levels. You can aim freely using the mouse, so there's no limit on verticality like in the original Doom and Wolfenstein. It allows for more bombastic set pieces and more complex boss battles, so it might look retro, but it's far more modern than it lets on. Like, the guns are genuinely fun to use, and while sure in the early levels you'll be using an axe due to the lack of ammo, the guns are loud, and even the small caliber weapons are capable of jibbing enemies just like classic Doom. I promise it's not sadistic to want to watch your enemies explode into bloody goo piles of entrails on the floor in front of you. So you have 14 basic weapons, but a modern aspect of this game's design is an upgrade system, giving them new looks and attacks, adding roughly 38 different weapons to use in this game according to the devs. Added to this, as you are the titular Warlock, you can use magic. There are 8 spells I believe, and some perk points to invest in, adding a light RPG feel to this shooter. I haven't really messed around with the magic too much in this game, as I haven't really got that far into it, but I imagine that the magic will be very handy in later levels. So your character will blurt out some extremely corny and cheesy one-liners, sort of like a budget Duke Nukem. But, well, not a comedic genius, it did make me chuckle a little bit, reminding me that this game is going for that classic FPS feel. But these aren't all too common. The one sucky part of this game, aside from its difficulty, but fuck, it's a classic FPS, it's not meant to be easy, is the pretty lackluster soundtrack. Like, my only gripe with this game is how many fucking shotty shells some enemies take to die. Like, the shotty in these types of games is meant to be an instrument of destruction, especially if it's trying to be a retro FPS game. You know, the whole rip and tear until it is done. But it feels like I could kill them quicker by breathing on them, and with this nationwide pandemic that could actually be true. So it was released on GOG, being a temporary exclusive in 2018, and is now available on Steam for £10, or $12, or even €11. See, I can be helpful. Number 2. Aeon Fury. So, Aeon Fury released in 2019, so it's a really recent title. It was developed by Voidpoint Interactive and published by the monolith that is 3D Realms. This game was built on the build engine, a game engine that is 24 years old, but Voidpoint has really pushed this engine to its limits, making a full-length FPS game that's only 65 megabytes. Let me repeat that, a full-length game that is only 65 megabytes. That's a marvel, seeing as the amount of content that's in this game. Especially when you compare it to something like Call of Duty that has like 100 gigabyte fucking updates, what the fuck? But just look at the main menu screen. It reeks of Wolfenstein, but the funny thing is the gameplay is nothing like it. The gameplay, if anything, is more like Duke Nukem. So after Duke Nukem Forever, many say the king is dead, and they're probably right. But now we've got a new queen of classic FPS, Shelley Bombshell Harrison, the protagonist who fittingly has made a career in bomb disposal. Move over Duke Nukem, we have a new duchess in town. But I've just said she's a queen. Fuck it, never mind. Story in this shooter though is pretty much non-existent, but that doesn't really matter though, as that's all the game really needs to string together a few hours of shooting with booty fun. Now, this game is an ode to technology and aesthetic, or technology as aesthetic? Being a build engine game, it's replicating a time when games were neither 2D nor 3D, instead using sprites to convey its 3D world. So anyway, Voidpoint is a group of experienced build engine modders who have used every exploit in the engine and every little subtle trick they can to make this really retro looking but modern feeling FPS game. So rather than shooting through dark and dingy corridors, the city of Neo DC is bustling with neon lights and towering skyscrapers. The level of detail the pixel art's gone into fleshing out the weapons and enemies deserves fucking awards, and let me tell you kids, it got them. In bucket loads. But despite it using a dated engine, it is still capable of hanging with the best of them. There's 9 weapons ranging from a police baton, your trusty loverboy revolver and shotgun to a motherfucking chain gun. This one gun called the Disperser is like a hybrid shotgun grenade launcher, allowing you to swap between the 2 ammo types at will. The best part is how no weapon is made to feel irrelevant when you find a new one. You can totally complete the game with the revolver if you so choose to. And you actually could do that, seeing as the revolver has a special ability where if you hold the right mouse button, it will like snap onto a target, and you can select 3 or 4 targets and then let go of the right mouse button and it will just take them all out, kind of like an insta-kill. Like the downside to that though is it doesn't take any kind of special ammo, so as long as you've got pistol ammunition you can use that ability as much as you want to. So you can battle cultists, head spiders, giant rocket mechs, little hover drones, invisible mutants, in a fast-paced, balls-to-the-walls run-and-gun shooter that really feels nostalgic in all the right places. It's littered with references to other pop culture from the neo-noir genre, including the opening level, a reference to Flynn's arcade from Tron. Shelley has a small list of quotes like the Duke himself and can also make references to The Matrix, Die Hard. I mean, sure, Duke but a chick isn't the most interesting thing they could have done, but I'll be damned if it isn't at least fun. And hell, the references don't stop there. It even has nods to shooters of the time by including a fucking sewer level, because every game needs a sewer level, right guys? Right? Kill me. So, sure, it has some faults, but for what Voidpoint achieved, cramming all this fucking neo-noir goodness into 65 megabytes worth of game is that, and the shotgun in this game is beastly. There are tons of secrets to you to find in levels. Also, this encourages replayability. It even won Indie of the Year on Steam. Plus side is the shotgun in this game is fucking amazing. As if it wasn't obvious, I love this game. I'd say it's my favourite from this list. My only criticism is that the boss battles are pretty lackluster. But Aeon Fury retails on Steam for £19.49, which is around about $25 or €23.50. It lists 5 awards on its Steam store page, including the aforementioned Indie of the Year, and a few awards given to it from review sites. It's worth checking out. It's a really good game. Number 3. Dusk. So can anybody tell me what the healthiest snack is? Anybody? Nobody? Dusk. Shit man, I miss Little Britain. But Dusk is basically like a fanfic game about any classic FPS character getting trapped in a Hollywood horror movie from the 90s. Think Duke Nukem having a role in The Hills Have Eyes, or BJ Blazkowicz being the lead in Deliverance. It's just a wacky shooter that very heavily leans on influences from Quake, Doom and Half-Life. I mean, when you're loading up the game, it shows a splash screen that imitates a DOSBox launch. The game just reeks of nostalgia. It's lovely. Like, this game is seriously nostalgia rose-tinted crack. So Dusk starts with your character being kidnapped by a group of rednecks and attached to a set of meat hooks, and from there you escape, you collect the meat hooks, and prepare to take your bloody revenge on everything with a fucking pulse and even on things that don't. So metal! But yeah, the first chapter basically has you explore a creepy farm and progress through a range of very 90s inspired levels. It's like a museum, a forgotten time capsule of days when games had love poured into them. Thing is though, whether or not you'll actually be able to see the levels as you'll be zooming around them like a mouse hopped up on meth, not for the sake of finishing levels quickly, but because you'll soon realise this is the only way to survive. There's a range of enemies, either being melee or ranged style enemies. The ones that like melee will just try and bum rush your position and get shot down quickly in the process. But you'll be squaring off against possessed scarecrows, a total horror cliche, hooded clansmen, which is a hell of a lot less progressive than I'd have foreseen, mega versions of the clansmen. The clansmen are called cultists, by the way. Soldiers, rats, fork maidens, turrets, cowgirls, flamethrower dudes, wendigos, priestesses, scientists, cart dogs, bone monks, bone bulls, which are like flying skulls. These things called horrors and mini chompers. So let's hope you have a lot of ammo. That or, run out of bubblegum. Because I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum. So, developed by the total chad that is David Szymanski of New Blood Interactive, you'll fight through 3 campaigns, which are basically episodes in the same vein of Doom and Wolfenstein. Everything about this game is amazing. The sound design and music is perfect and it really fits the game. I feel like Dusk belongs on a pedestal alongside the holy trinity of original FPS games, your Doom, Quake and Blood, as opposed to Wolfenstein, as it doesn't really take any inspiration from Wolfenstein. Like, this game feels at first like it's going to be a cheap attempt to recreate Blood, but it really is so much more. Its low poly art style is just beautiful and it does a great job of feeling retro without any of the inconvenient parts of retro shooters. Dusk is not a cheap imitation, it really is well thought out and beautifully crafted. The levels are great and atmospheric, and the later levels get better than the opening levels, as it seems New Blood don't want to show their hand too early, so they drip feed you content until you hit episode 2 and 3, then they hit you full force with loads of cool shit. It's your role as Dusk Dude. Yes, Dusk Dude, his official name. You are a treasure hunter and you were kidnapped by hillbillies, which starts this whole game off. The shotgun in this game is fucking amazing too, it really slaps, so good job on that one guys. And yes, I do rate how well I view these games on how good the shotgun is. Like almost entirely. So you'll be strafe running and firing rockets and shooting shotguns at larger than life enemies in the name of retro shooters. Dusk is pretty cheap too, it retails at $14.99, which is €16.33 or $17.86.
Number 4!
Wrath, Aeon of Ruin. Wrath, Aeon of Ruin is a fantastic game. Released in November of 2019 on the Quake engine, it feels retro in all the right ways. It's also the first major game release on the Quake engine in almost 20 years, so it feels amazing to play as it's a perfect nostalgia whilst having all the perks of a modern FPS game. It really is a beautiful throwback to the 90s. Kill Pixel really knocked it out the park with this one. You'll run and gun through some pretty gothic settings. Now its name is pretty long, and let's face it, a solid 99 players are just going to call it RAF. I don't know why shooters from this time had to have such long titles, it's odd. Sure, it makes your title unique, but so unique that nobody can remember what the fuck your game is called? Good business strategy, I guess? So you'll be shooting and slashing your way through graveyards, mausoleums, crypts and other gothic themed locales, battling beautifully rendered polygonal enemies that really fuck your nostalgia glands in just the right way. This game is Quake, but with a fresh lick of paint. It's beautiful, but rather than rose tinted goggles, it's available on Steam for you to play in glorious 4K. If you've got a monitor that can support it, and if you do, I low-key envy you. But yeah, the requirements for this game aren't anything spectacular. I mean, you could probably play this on an old Pentium chip. Don't though, because if you're still using a Pentium chip in 2020, then oh honey, what are you doing? But yeah, the pixely art style of this one is beautiful. There's only one slight annoyance I have with RAF, and that's that I never have any idea where the fuck I am going. You jump through all these portals to different levels and it gets really confusing. You often end up backtracking through various areas and there's no mini-map anyway, so like you have no idea if you've been to an area before. I mean, it's quite simple. If you've been to an area before, enemies will pretty much start bum rushing you instantly, but you know, it gets very difficult to figure out how to progress through the game. That, in my problem, is a big, fat mark down on your game. The game retails at £19.99, $23.82 or €21.78, which is the most expensive title on this list. Number 5. Devil Daggers. So yeah, this game's like a B-Tech Doom in a way, but it's also nothing like Doom, which makes about 0 sense, but hold on, let me explain. It's set in what I'm interpreting to be hell, but I could be wrong. You spawn in like this empty arena and monsters will start rushing you. You, however, have magic that you can shoot from your fingers to eliminate the demons. I'm presuming this magic to be fire, but weirdly the fire looks sort of like shotgun cartridges being ejected. So, developed by Strafe, you'll fight flying skulls, giant centipede looking ass monsters, and more. Everything has satisfying sound, so you can always hear where enemies are, especially if you play with headphones, and you should play with headphones, because if you don't play video games with headphones, you are the scum of the earth. I think of this game like I think of Call of Duty Zombies. It's the same vein of gameplay. You spawn in, you try to survive as long as you can, which will not be long, you die, and you do it all over again. There's a global leaderboard that flashes up each time you die. Death isn't an inconvenience in this game though. You die or you live. There's no real loading screen separating attempts really. Just oops, you died, now get back in there and try again. So yeah, this game's really small, and there's a decent amount of content. It's not that much, but it's alright. I don't know how many various types of enemies I'll end up facing if I manage to survive longer than 1.5 seconds. You think I'm joking about that, but this game really does bombard you with enemies. If you go into this one thinking, oh, it's just another wave type horde game, it will bend you over and it will call you Brenda. Seriously, this game will make you its bitch. So if you're just looking for a quick time killer game, this is it. With the leaderboards, you can watch people's attempts and see their struggles. You also have a friend leaderboard too, so you can watch your friend get destroyed by the hordes of what I presume to be hell. It's definitely a type of hell, I'll give you that much. Like, there isn't much to say about this game in terms of game modes, other than it's a horde survival style game mode. But yeah, you can watch anybody's run, check and see how they got the time they did, and if this game has any kind of speedrunning community, this is a godsend. You can validate their times and ensure no cheats were used. The best part about it is it's really cheap, meaning you can challenge your friends to get the greatest times for £3.99, €4.35 or $4.77, so it's not going to break the bank for a little bit of retro fun. Number 6. Strafe. Now Strafe, like Project Warlock, was throwing me up red flags as it loaded, showing made with Unity, which most times, as I've said, is a kiss of death. There are exceptions of course, and this is one of them. Developed by Pixel Titans, it's a roguelite themed retro FPS title. Of course, if you've seen Why I Love Roguelikes video, you'll understand why this is so appealing to me. The next splash screen though was made by Devolver Digital, which instantly calmed my nerves, as I really like Devolver Digital and all of their games. They have a pretty solid track record of making good games, like Hotline Miami. You know what, I genuinely reckon that'll probably be my next big project, just me stanning Devolver Digital. I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to turn down the opportunity to, suck Devolver's dick there, because Devolver Digital makes some very good games. Now this game appeals to my psychopathic violent tendencies because you can paint the walls red with the pixely blood of your foes, like a Quake rendition of Dead Space. Basically, it feels like if Void Bastards had a love child with Quake or Doom. I'm not joking, by the way. You can blow enemies to pieces and their blood and gibs will go all over the walls. You can paint the walls with blood. The combat is very run and gun feeling for a Quake imitator, which is kinda key. Obviously, reaping all the benefits of modern day fleshed out control schemes and full mouse aim, movement is beautiful. Like, this game tries really hard to be a retro shooter, but obviously the roguelike elements pull away from that. Personally though, I really like it. They did a lot with the Unity engine and optimization as well. It does have many resolutions to choose from, and a pitiful FOV slider allowing you to turn from 80 to 95, which isn't much of a change really. There's no ultra-wide support, but I don't even have an ultra-wide monitor, so that doesn't bother me. And the lady in the training video ain't too bad either, if you get me, wink wink. Now, there are several perks in the game, but working out what they all do is a bit of an issue, as it never actually says what they are. However, that's sort of par for the course with roguelike titles. To get good at this game, you press left mouse button and you move left and right. That is all. You are now prepared for the tests of Strafe. Its HUD's a bit bizarre too. Shooters of this age have, health, armor, ammo and important pickups such as keys or keycards. But no, there's a map and an inventory, which strikes me as bizarre. I understand it's important for roguelike titles to have this, but as a retro shooter it doesn't work. I love the amount of gallons of blood you can spill in this game. Hell, if you blow something into gibs, chunks will stick and slide down the walls, as I've mentioned. Strafe is a very twitchy Quake imitator. It looks great, if not at times overwhelming trying to find pickups amongst exploded gibs on the floor. It really does capture the feel of these 90s shooters, but doesn't quite do its job building on its potential. One thing that I do like though is that you can level up in this game and earn coins to spend on modifiers. One turns the game into a sort of RPG with character leveling, one makes everybody have rockets, another has a big head mode, and there's another that can modify the gravity. It's basically like the old San Andreas cheats. Strafe will set you back £11.39, $13.93 or €12.66.
Number 7.
A Medieval. Do you remember New Blood Interactive, the people that made Dusk? Yeah, well, A Medieval's another game from those guys. It was inspired by games such as Heretic and Hexen. Much like New Blood's other retro-inspired FPS game, it's very much a throwback, focusing more on the magical side of arsenals. You get magic staffs and enchanted weapons, stuff like that. Now, A Medieval does away with a lot of the traditional cruxes of old-school FPS. There's no fall damage, you can breathe underwater, elevators won't kill you if they catch a stray pixel of your character. Now, this game does have platforming in it, which is a bit of a nightmare, especially when your character seems to think he's the Roadrunner. Whizzing around the shop to avoid demons, some of these platforms disappear on a timer too, so be quick and be careful. There's a quick save feature though, which, while being a newer feature to FPS titles, does take a lot of the worry from the platforming sections out. Also, the whole no fall damage things mean you won't ever really die if you fuck up, it's just kind of an inconvenience. In classic retro FPS fashion, nearly every mission you have to find a button like in Doom. If not a button, then it's a switch, and then the level changes a little bit, but how exactly? Fuck knows. Go run around until you work it out. The game does look beautiful though, with all the little bells and whistles of modern graphical enhancements. However, one big gripe is no fucking FOV slider. Oh wait, no, I actually just found it in the main menu, but it does fucking nothing, because it's vertical, not horizontal FOV. I saw Civvy do a pro Medieval video and G-Man do a vid too, and their FOVs are fine. I want to know how to sort it. Is it in commands? Is it in a CFG file? I need to know these things, guys. It has a great soundtrack and is really fun. There are little niggles in its game design, like with the soul mode. Basically, slaying enemies will drop souls that charge up your soul mode, turning all weapons OP, and many weapons can one-hit enemies. It isn't nerfed at all against the bosses either, but aside from that, it's amazing. A Medieval retails at £15.99, $19.94, or €18.21. Number 8! Maximum Action. Here's another game in the genre of retro-themed FPS games that I own before making this video. I was umming and ahhing at adding this one as it isn't trying to be a Doom, Wolfenstein or Quake clone, but saying that I have other games in this list that aren't really either. So, the third thing is that it's another title from New Blood, so almost half this list is their games, but like I said, it's a pretty niche genre. But Maximum Action is a game about making your own short action films, using slow motion and bullet dodging along with akimbo weapons. You feel like Max Payne if Max Payne was a video game released in the late 80s and was a first person shooter. It's really fun. Like, the game's got ragdoll physics and physics-based diving, sliding, kicking and drop kicking. The enemies react to where they're shot and like fall in the proper manner, and they will occasionally writhe around on the floor in agony before dying. So, in true 80s and 90s video game fashion, you can jib enemies. There's loads of blood and dismemberment too. There are so many weapons in this game, from your pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, SMGs, assault rifles, grenade launchers, heavy machine guns. There's loads of guns. The game features a sandbox mode and an endless mode, so you can be diving and sliding around, surviving endless waves of cliché 80s henchmen in stupidly flamboyant suits. It's inspired by Hong Kong action. The game has full Steam Workshop features and support, allowing you to try and survive new levels created by other users. It's a super unrealistic expectation, but imagine if this game ends up with multiplayer. I think I'd cream my pants. Remember, this game is in early access and it's not complete, so expect some parts to be rather janky. The game's retro aesthetic is why I chose to include it as an FPS game, and it looks retro, so I guess it qualifies. Maximum Action retails for £11.39, $14 too, or €10.49. So that's all the retro FPS games that I'm aware of on the market right now. There are a few releases coming out. Prodeus. Reading from their store page, Prodeus is the first-person shooter of old. Reimagining using modern rendering techniques, it reaches the quality you'd expect from a AAA experience while adhering to some of the aesthetic technical limits of older hardware. Their art style is high-quality 3D retro aesthetic, a focus on over-the-top visual effects, awesome dismemberment, and infinite blood. Go crazy and paint the walls red, which, as we know, I really like. Its gameplay has fast-paced action, hellish destruction, dynamic soundtrack, visceral and engaging combat scenarios, heavy-duty weaponry, and a multitude of secrets to discover. It's releasing sometime in 2020. Ultrakill. Now this game seems really cool to me. Mankind is dead, blood is fuel, hell is full. Ultrakill is a fast-paced, ultra-violent, old-school FPS that fuses together classic shooters like Quake, modern shooters like Doom 2016, and character action games like Devil May Cry. Mankind has gone extinct, and the only beings left on Earth are machines fueled by blood. But now that blood is starting to run out on the surface. Machines are racing to the depths of hell in search of more. It's basically a low-poly Doom. So you use your movement and abilities to stay mobile and avoid the relentless attacks of the dead, demons and other machines. Destroy them with an arsenal of incredibly powerful weapons, each with multiple available variations. Soak yourself in their blood to regain health and keep fighting. That's so metal. Kill fast and with style to rack up combo and gain style points that can be used on weapon variations between missions. Master the many levels to achieve high ranks and take on unique optional challenges, and explore the varied and unique environments inspired by Dante's Inferno to find plentiful hidden secrets. It's kill or be killed, and every split second is a matter of life and death. It's also releasing sometime in 2020. Fallen Angels Shadow over Umber. Fallen Angels is a game from developer Trey Powell. Sadly, it doesn't yet have a Steam page or a release date, but I can't imagine it releasing any later than this year. It really interests me though, because it's a Mafia noir shooter, and I've long been after a Mafia themed shooter. I mean, Mafia 3 was a huge disappointment, so this is a breath of fresh air. That being said, I've just gone and pre-ordered the Mafia Definitive Edition, and I can't wait for it to release. Sadly, not much has been released about this game yet, so let's hope it releases sometime this year. Please, Trey, please. I want to go slapping some Mafia guys, okay? I want to make them sleep with the fishes. HROT. HROT in Czechoslovakia means tip, peak or cusp. Apparently though, the official translation is spike according to a Czechoslovakian user on Twitter. So the game's set in a small Soviet Union nation next to Czechoslovakia, so either Germany, super unlikely, Austria, Czechoslovakia or Poland. The game takes place in 1986, so the year that the Chernobyl disaster occurred, so it's referencing the peak of the radiation from the disaster maybe, or something, I don't know. The game store page states, "Those times were terrifying and so is the game." It sounds very interesting, it sounds like it's very atmospheric. So the rest of the page's game description is as follows. You start in a civil defense shelter deep under Prague metro station. As a proud holder of the military readiness badge, you know what your duty is. Put on a non-functioning gas mask, load the VZ-52 pistol and protect the peace and your socialist homeland from the strange intruders. The classic gameplay and vibe of Romeric shooters from the 1990s, including a fitting brown retro aesthetic. You'll find a shotgun, a VZ-13 SMG, a rocket launcher, and even some secret experimental Soviet battery-powered weapons, e.g. a lightning launcher. If you run out of ammo, you might find a hammer and sickle coming in handy. Handcrafted levels inspired by real locations with an emphasis on historical details. Every level contains socialist paraphernalia, which nowadays can only be found in museums or your grandma's attic. Flushable toilets and destructible light bulbs. A custom game engine written in Pascal imitating 1990s software style rendering with unfiltered textures and polygonal jitter. So these are the games that are leading the charge of the renaissance of retro-themed modern shooters. So yeah, I basically bought an SSD and I was setting it up as my boot drive and I lost my original audio files from Audacity, so I had to re-record them. I was meant to do it yesterday, like this script was written like fucking months ago, but I spent all of yesterday, months ago, sleeping, going on a big walk with my dog, and buying a new graphics card. Yay me. If you stuck with this video long enough to get to the end, thank you, I love you, you're a real G. And you know the spiel. Join my Discord, follow me on Twitter, like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment on which game is your favourite or which one interests you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I've been PapaScho. Ciao for now.
How doing you are, boys and girls? Make sure to PapaScho you subscribe, or have to do this to you. I will.